Okay, I've done videos on this before, but this is going to be a very, very important thing as we start to get into a busier market. As we know, previous to last year, rates were much cheaper than they are right now. Client may have a rate of 1-2%, rates are 4-5% right now. And so the temptation is for clients to say, okay, I'm just going to port my existing mortgage from RBC or CIBC. So what that means, I take my mortgage where I am at, um, and I move it to a new property. And so I avoid a penalty. So first of all, you need to know that these are not as smooth. These are not as likely to get approved as people think. And we are seeing some very, very upset clients. And I want to give you some pitfalls because I'll tell you the reasons here. But the thing that you need to think about, and the way that we run the show here, is that we want to surprise people with a port. So when a client gets a mortgage with us, we're going to always tell them that it has the option of porting. But if they come to us to port the mortgage, we're never going to default to that. We're always going to run the numbers as if the port wasn't possible. And if it turns out that it does work, all the numbers work, the stars align, then we can surprise them down the road. But we never guarantee that port. Very, very important. Because a lot of what's happening right now is you have people that you think that they're selling their homes. And you may not hear the stories, but there is some bad stuff going down. When a port happens, and when I'm taking my mortgage from, let's say, CIBC to another house, I have to make sure those dates line up. So if the date lines up, if the money shows up late, that could be out of your control. That could be out of the lawyer's control. That port is null and void. The banks do not reverse those decisions. You can cry as much as you want. Maybe 1 in a million times they're ever going to do that. But those dates become very, very important. So you really run a risk that, like, if something happens that's out of your control, that that the client's not able to port, and it's not anyone's fault, and they're going to be very, very upset. Secondly, porting all the time means that a client qualifies for less money. This may not be relevant to some clients, so they may not be trying to go for it, but every single time a client qualifies for less money in the port. If somebody tells you that's not the case, they're dead wrong. Because what happens is when we port somebody, we have to take their original amortization, and this is a big deal, a big deal. So when a client says they're porting, you can know for certain that they've actually been pre-approved for a lower amount that they'd actually qualify for. So you can know that for certain. So if they tell you they ported, you got to get them in to somebody like me and say, okay, what other options can happen? The third thing is that you have to remember a port doesn't always save you money. We're blending a rate. There's penalties being built in. There's posted rates being built in. When someone says there's no penalty, that's not true. There is an ability to avoid and recapture a penalty based on balances, but it does depend on, like if I borrow 200,000, I'm upgraded 300,000. I still have $100,000 at the new rate. I got to blend those rates together. If it's the normal case of practice in business that I would go in, a bank would offer me the posted rate. Then they'd offer me the discounted rate after they've worked with me for a little bit, and they would get lower. The client's never getting the best deal. So even if a client tells you that they're giving the best deal, actually, unless they've been shown number to number, taking on a new mortgage, taking on a port, this is the difference in cost, then they have not been given the best deal. This is a huge thing to look for. Now, I want to really emphasize, I'm not against porting. We're going to run the port for every single client. That's just the right thing to do right now. Some of those clients are going to be fabulously better off by using the port, but there's a real risk and caution. The last thing, I talk about this ad nauseum all the time, these ports last for a limited amount of time. So if you sell their home and you can't find a new home in a short amount of time, the ports don't get extended. And so you have people that jump into houses they don't really want, or they're upset because they haven't found something. So you really open people up for risk from that perspective. So porting, buyer beware, realtor beware. If we can help with anything, let us know. We're here for you.